with Amorim, right, I find myself in this position where right now, as of right now, the day after the Europa League final, Amorim is not it. I'm sorry, but he is not it. But I have to pretend that he might be. That's where I am. I have to pretend he might be. I have to.
Going with delusion.
It feels, a little bit. It feels biblical to a degree. You got to have faith. You know, I'm George Michael over here. I have to have faith in him, and that's all I've got right now. Because if you build a pro and a con list about Amorim, the only pros are going to be he was good at sporting, he needs time.
Won 6 whole games.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Really, the cold hard truth is he's got, 9 points in the league since he's come in? How many defeats? I don't even know. I've had to cast that aside right now. We're 16th. We're probably going to end up 17th. 1 place above the relegation zone when it's all said and done after the weekend. So, look, I like him. Sometimes he's refreshingly honest. However, it just feels like a gym membership. It feels like I'm gonna keep paying this monthly direct debit, but I'm not gonna get the results because I'm not gonna go. You know, I don't know where I am right now with Amorim. I don't know where I am. I've lost my head again.
You have. It's all right.
Where are you?
It's okay.
Where are you?
Listen, I've got to say I do back Amorim, but I will say I understand where people are coming from. I think that game was a massive test of the faith of fans. Man United fans in general are pretty loyal, and a lot of people were saying that within the stadium, the first half, it was extremely loud with the Amorim chants, and it got less and less and less. A lot of fans saying that they felt like they should have been acknowledged a little bit more by the players and the manager. Obviously, I wasn't there, so I don't know, but I do back him just because where do you go from here? I understand that he's won 6 Premier League games. Half of those victories came against teams who were relegated. I understand that there have been a lot of issues with him sticking to this system, being rigid, etc. But for me, the fact that he is honest, he isn't, Eric Ten Hag talking about fairy tales and lies and all this rubbish. This guy is honest and he does call it how he sees it. And he said in his programme notes, he said, I think it was the Everton game maybe, he said, this is going to be a storm. And if I revert and go back from this, then we're just going to go back to square one again.
Yeah.
So what do? You get rid of him, you get Thomas Frank, Iraola, then what if they do badly too? What we're going to do? Sack them? If we've already brought in these players that fit with Amorim's style of play, how are they going to fit into other styles of play of other managers? I will say for me, it seems like the players like him.
Yeah.
Luke Shaw, Diogo Dalot, Bruno Fernandes have all come out and said, this is the man for Manchester United.
Yeah.
You weren't getting that after the FA Cup final with Ten Hag.
No.
And I think when you look at what he's had to deal with, the beginning of the season, there were a lot of team leaks going on. There's a lot of suspicions as to who was behind that on social media, but whoever it was, that has stopped. He's dealt with the Rashford situation very well, I think. Even Garnacho, dropping him for that derby, he's handled it well. Casemiro, he's been honest. Casemiro saying this is the best season of my life because I had a manager that didn't believe in me and I had to go away and prove myself. I think when you look at all the different managers that we've had, you had Mourinho against Luke Shaw, against Paul Pogba, Louis van Gaal, there was like a mutiny expected. All the players were so unhappy. Ollie was Ollie, Eric Ten Hag against Sancho.
Yeah.
He's dealt with things in-house quite well. And being the face of Manchester United at the minute as the manager when there are these redundancies, which he is acknowledging and saying, this is uncomfortable for me, that people are losing their jobs, the fact that he's able to say that. And I understand people can argue and say, oh, well, that's all kind of PR stuff that you're talking about. I understand that on the pitch it's not good enough. But I just think to be without sounding like I've got a bit of a big head here as a Man United fan, being a Manchester United manager is a completely different kettle of fish compared to other managerial jobs. And those aspects you have to get right.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that he gets those bits right, that he understands the assignment, on top of the fact that I think he does deserve a pre-season. I think he does deserve the next season. Whether he will get that, I don't know, but there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. We'll come on to your, MVP, Alejandro Garnacho, but you look at someone like Kobbie Mainoo, not really been great since he's come back from injury. Where does he play with Amorim? Is he one of those players that could be sold? Do they have another season working together?
Yeah.
Have we 100% got rid of Jadon Sancho? I'm hoping we have. Marcus Rashford expects somehow that he's going to Barcelona, ain't happening, but hopefully someone will take him. There's a lot of different things that he's got to think about. You know, you can't get rid of 20 players. A lot of these players that played in Bilbao, that were in this squad, he's going to have to work with next season.
Yeah.
And it'll be very interesting. But for me, I think we've gone down this Amorim road now. We have to keep going.
For the record, I agree. You know, I think back him. I just hate that I'm going into another summer thinking
understand.
I'm not sure if this manager's good enough.
Yeah.
I'm here
I
again.
understand.
How do you guys look on the outside looking in?
What I was saying, look, I haven't followed Ruben Amorim probably as much as you guys have, and I could be wrong in certain aspects, but when he first arrived at Sporting, I think they were in a real bad place in terms of position, in terms of form, in terms of I'm right in saying supporters jumping over the training ground and attacking players. And what he done there is he turned that football club around. Of course, it's a lot bigger challenge than where he is now. I mean, he took players ahead of where they should be. Gyökeres in, for instance, he's took him and he's made him one of the sought-after players in Europe, potentially could be at Manchester United next season. Who knows? So for me, I from the outsider looking in, you have to back this guy.
Yeah.
He's got a track record of being able to turn clubs around. Yes, it's a lot bigger challenge here than it is in terms of globally, in terms of the world is looking at you. But when he first arrived, I was concerned as a Spurs supporter, someone who we thought was going to be higher up the table, competing higher up the table, that this guy is going to turn Manchester United back and bring success back to the football club. And I still think he's that man. He's got a lot of aspects and issues to deal with behind the scenes, which he is doing remarkably well, in my opinion. Yes, it didn't go well in the final, and it hasn't gone well in this campaign, but similar to Ange in terms of he needs backing. And I don't know what you think about, there was a real furore and there was a real excitement when Sir Jim Ratcliffe was going to take over or buy into the club. And I don't think he's done anything right in terms of decisions apart from getting Ruben Amorim. And for me, as a former player and someone looking from the outside, I would back him.
I hope you're right.
What's interesting again is to go back to the game a little bit, is that I think as a Spurs fan, there has been that kind of maybe inferiority complex when you play Man United, because you look at Man United and it's the club that is built on heritage of winning, that has got over the line, that has always, even in recent finals, found a way to win games. And I think what was really, damning when you look at United is that, especially that game, I looked at the United, Spurs playing them last night, I thought, this isn't Man United. It's kind of, 11 red shirts, if you want to call it that,
By name only.
But there's nothing that kind of...
No fear factor.
There was nothing that kind of showed me this is Manchester United. It could have been anyone we were playing.
I think Luke Shaw touched on that, where he said, I feel like we go into a lot of games where we don't believe that we can win.
Yeah.
He was saying that after the game. So I think it shines a light on the mentality and the confidence of these players is also quite low, because it is, when people came to Old Trafford, there was a feeling of, this is Old Trafford.
Yeah.
This is a fortress, and it's not.
Goals have been a massive problem. I think, again, I think as Spurs fans, we were concerned about going 1-0 down.
Yeah.
But perversely, I suppose, as United fans, you were also perversely about going 1-0 down because of the nature of the lack of goals in the team.
We say it, I think, every week on our show. The bottom line is, who can score goals for Manchester United? And yes, in Europe, you can argue Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount, Harry Maguire, Casemiro. But when it's week in, week out in the Premier League, who can score goals?
Yeah, exactly.
And it is... Bruno Fernandes, and fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Because Rasmus Højlund isn't good enough.
I don't mean this in a bad way. Like I say, as a Spurs fan, I'm so happy and proud and pleased that we've got over the line. But I just wonder for Man United players psychologically to lose to Tottenham in a final, a club that isn't used to winning, how much that plays concerns in their minds.
Yeah.
What I'll say is...
That is a good point. One thing I would just quickly say is that I guess when you look at, and fans were talking about this, that when you look at, the Barcelona games, the 09, the 11, and this is no disrespect to Spurs, but I think you walk away from those games feeling like, you know what, they are far better than us at this point. And I think because of the way that we are in the Premier League with Spurs, I think that, and the stats and everything, they were maybe there for the taking a little bit more. I think you do walk away from it not having, as a fan, not having that kind of humbling feeling maybe of, you know what, it was a team that is technically a lot better than us. Were quite closely matched in the league, so I think it plays a role.
It was purely based, if you agree, Dale, just on the fact we wanted it more. There was just that feeling going into the week itself about how much we needed it. We wanted the trophy and what it would do for our season, where, again, it goes back to the point we said earlier with Amorim, the way in which the whole week was coming about. Just intriguing the two ways the camps dealt with the week itself.
Yeah, there was a lot of, like we said, they were chilled. I think that's the word I use. They were chilled.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been successful for Manchester United. There's a real, I don't know, there's a real stigma around Manchester United at the moment that nothing they are doing is good enough.
Well, Bale called it United-y.
You know what?
Amazing.
On that note, just before we wrap up, because he's come up quickly, just to touch Garnacho.
Get him out.
You can't mean that.
Get him out.
You can't mean
Get
that.
him and his sad little brother out.
The brother maybe. Why is that wound people up so much?
Listen, football is like mafia. You don't go against the family. You do not go against Manchester United.
He's not going against United, does he?
Listen, right? All these players that have spoken after the game have spoken about, we're sorry to the fans, we've let you down, this hasn't been good enough, etc., etc. What has Garnacho said? He said that the season was rubbish, I'll say.
True.
You know, we didn't beat anyone in the league, we lacked a lot of things, when you don't score goals, you always need more. And then it's I.
Good.
All about him. There's no message to the fans. There is no acceptance that he hasn't been good enough because he hasn't been good enough. And for me, to come out, where is his accountability? For him to come out and say something so negative like that when every other player has been a little bit more humble about it, that annoys me. You're telling me that he doesn't know what his brother, who is his agent, is doing.
Maybe.
You're telling me that, listen, if that was me, you'd be saying to your family, what are you playing at?
Maybe.
Rein it in. At the end of the day, nobody, and I have said this, and I said it about Ronaldo when all that stuff was going on the other season, nobody is bigger than this club. No player is bigger than this club, and you cannot allow your agent, your family member, to be putting things like that on social media. All it does is just build even more drama, more media attention. Amorim, he ain't for Amorim. He's not bothered because he's saying, I'll take the summer. Pure profit, probably not going to be 60 to 70 million. I know you love him, but that for me, he's burnt his bridges with me.
No, I can't disagree more about this. We every week we're asking for passion, for fight. If Roy Keane comes out and does that, and says that interview, and says, we've been rubbish.
He's not playing for United at the minute.
But I'm saying when he was playing.
Right.
If someone like him comes out and says that, we go, there it is, there's the fight. We're asking for bark,
But then it's because he goes on to then talk about himself. I only played that 20 minutes. Well, you know what? Tough. That's what happens sometimes. You don't always get your own way.
But we lost. Like, I think what I want to see from a young man like him, who's been brilliant for Manchester United as a whole. Scored in the FA Cup final, don't forget, last season as well. I want to see bark, I want to see bite. And that's what we've asked for. We've asked for passion every single week. The second a player shows it in a post-match, right, he's only got 20 minutes. He deserves to be fuming. We want to put a muzzle on him. I just
But
don't
look at when
understand
Ahmad
that.
was fuming, when Anthony got put on the pitch in Istanbul against Fenerbahce. You could see Ahmad was fuming in his face. Has he ever come out and started saying that type of madness?
Two different personalities.
He proved it on the pitch.
Yeah, two different personalities. If he didn't prove it last
Well,
night.
I don't like his personality.
I'll just jump in quickly
Go on,
there,
yeah,
because
go
I
on.
think it's a real individualised passion towards himself,
Yeah.
what he could have done. And to a certain extent, I like that. I think he's made an error of judgment in timing as well, in how to bring this out. Look at the way Ollie Watkins handled not playing against PSG. I think that was handled the right way. He waited for an interview, reporter to ask him a question. Then he said that I'm disappointed. I understand players play and I didn't. I'm disappointed. I could have made a difference. I think it was just an error of judgment on his side. Maybe his youthfulness and his agent, his brother, who's really young.
Yeah.
I think that he'll have a lot of making up to do in the changing room to other players. I just think that's a message to say that he is available, and I don't think he wants to be at Manchester United.
Potentially. Well.